Welcome to Envizion More. Here, we dig deep into the insights of first-generation wealth builders, unearthing stories of passion, resilience, and relentless vision. Your host is Wayne Wagner Jr., founder of Visionary Wealth Management. So sit back and dig in. It's time to envision more.
Hey, this is Wayne Wagner with another episode of the Envizion More podcast. And I am legit going to be a fanboy today because you have heard me, our listeners have heard me talk about Brad Harris many times on the podcast. They've read about it in my book. You've heard me talk about the thing. People who have been so instrumental in my life that literally not a week goes by that I don't use something that they taught me. And Brad Harris is one of those guys in our life. And today I'm joined by my bride, Mae Wagner, who's also a fan girl. So we're going to try not to spend too much time being fan kids of Brad Harris here today. But the fact of the matter is, Brad is one of our 30-year-long lifetime heroes. And, we walked together for a season and we were really young and inexperienced. He taught us some amazing things. And then we've gone on our own journeys for the last 25 plus years. And this is literally the first time we're back together. So with that as a backdrop and hopefully not overselling the stake here, Brad, welcome to the Envision More podcast. And thank you for committing some time to chat with us today.
Well, you're welcome. Good to be on, both of you. So it's just, it's great, Wayne, great Mae, to be on here with you. And it's like old times. It's like old times being back together again. So look forward to chatting with you guys on here. So this will be great.
Yes. Thanks so much for agreeing to come on here. And you had such an impact on us when we were in our 20s. And we've taken so much of that into the rest of our life. I will say that it's different, right? Because when we were in Herbalife, we had this group of people surrounding us. And then we decided to kind of choose to chase something else. And then it was Wayne and I. And we realized that not everyone wants you to be successful out there in the business world. And that became, kind of important for us to learn how to be foxhole buddies together. But we took so many concepts of just trying to turn around and help the next person in line also be successful. And it's molded and shaped us. So thank you so much for your investment in us at a very young age.
It was great. It was a great time, and it was a great time in Herbalife, and it was a great time, of course, in those days, we didn't have all this technology that we're having right here. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Man,
We
what
had
would
to fly and see. Yeah, there's a lot of difference for us to get together. You know what I mean? We couldn't just hook up like this. We had to meet each other places and long phone calls. So,
Yes.
yeah.
Well, and I think and this is probably a whole different topic for a whole nother episode, but Mae, you've touched on something there, which is that the network marketing business model is one of the most unique things, unique business models I've ever seen in that, like if I'm selling auto parts and we've got our convention and we're all selling O'Reilly auto parts or, Napa auto parts, whatever it is, everybody's selling the product and there's a camaraderie around the product, but there's also huge competition with the other brands. There's huge competition. Like I'm a financial advisor. I go to financial advisor industry events and every other guy is in competition with me. And I'm in competition with everybody else. You go into a realtor organization and every realtor was willing to cut the throat of the next person over to get that client and make that sale. In network marketing, man, you can show up at an event where there's literally thousands of people. And every single one of them wants nothing more than to help everybody in the room be more successful. And from the top down. And so it creates unique subcultures where people get to function like entrepreneurs selling a product. And yeah, it is usually a product that there's a lot of personal affinity with. The best network marketing companies are companies that engage the emotion and the product. So it's not just a great product, but there's an emotion tied to it. There's an emotional response. That's why you see it with health and wellness companies, with skincare companies, cosmetic companies, why a lot of the business model works so effectively, because we get emotionally tied to those kinds of products that change our lives or improve our lives. But like I said, it's a topic for another podcast, but that business model and what Mae and I tend to miss. Like, I've been 30 years in the financial planning industry, and it's just literally within the last year that I found a group of advisors that challenges me, wants my good, wants nothing more than to feed each other and help each other succeed. And it's because we're spread all over the country. We're not in each other's backyards too, right? So if we're in each other's backyards, there might be a little bit more competition. But Brad, you spent 3 decades now in that Herbalife culture, helping, not just pouring into others, but becoming part of that culture, being poured into and then pouring into others. And to listen to your podcast is just a master class
Mhm.
in leadership and philosophy and how to develop as a person. So, like, how did you get started? Where'd you come from?
Okay, well, that it goes back. Yeah, I've been in the industry early for 31 years. 1993 is when I started, Wayne, and so in May, and I used to be an airline mechanic, and this is really going to date me. Maybe you guys remember TWA. TWA was the company I worked with. I was an airline mechanic. My dad was a mechanic for 40 years, and so that's kind of like that. You just kind of do what your dad did, right? And my dad was a mechanic. I went to A&B school, got my aircraft power plant license. I was a mechanic, probably because my dad was a mechanic, not because really I wanted to, but this is what you did, especially in those days. And because of that, a lot of shift work. I was working 12:30 to 7:30 in the morning, working shift work, Wednesday, Thursday off. When I got married, we had 2 children. So that's not a great or to raise children with, right? I'm always sleeping during the day. Pam was babysitting at that time to make extra money. So we had our two, and then we had 4 more that she was babysitting. And I'm trying to sleep during the day. So this is not working. Okay, it's just not working. She's trying, it's like, it's just stressful because I'm trying to sleep. The kids are loud. I'm on Pam's case about keeping them quiet. She's like, you try, it's like, it was just, it was not a great time in her life. Because of that, Pam was always looking for something else. She was looking for something else. She didn't have the energy to chase kids around all the time. She had a lot of health problems after our last baby, Tyler. So she answered an ad in the newspaper that said work from home with nutrition products. And she answered that ad. I was very skeptical. I was, I'm a union airline mechanic. You know what I mean? So I was not wild about that. She went to this guy's basement. It was crazy. I think back, we wouldn't even do this stuff today. The way go to a guy's basement for an, meeting. So it was like, she goes there, comes back. She says, he gave me all these pills. I have energy. I'm like, well, we don't take pills from guys in basements. I go, that's, skin, we're a big Christian family. That's not what we do in our lives. And so but she said, no, 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 no. You got to go to this meeting the next day. So I went to that meeting to take care of that guy, whatever he was promising Pam. I'll never forget going to that meeting. There was a guy there named Dan Waldron who flew in from Dallas, Texas to do that meeting. It was only 4 people, 4 of us. It was kind of crazy. It's like, I left that meeting that day. I was, they wanted, I think, $55 to get a distributor kit. I said, we can't make money. We're spending money. Walked out of that, let Pam there. Pam made some phone calls to some friends, actually sold some products to earn her kit. And that's kind of how the journey started. She brought there was products in that distributor kit. Pam brought those home. Pam needed to gain weight. She could never gain weight. And so she came home, she started taking the products, and she looked at me and said, listen, you need to lose weight. So why don't you try the product for weight loss? I'm like, well, baby, you lose weight by hard work, sweat, and salads. I'm not doing that, but that's how you do it. And of course, I had all the answers, but no results. And so anyway, but I end up taking the products and trying to prove to her that it wouldn't work. And end up losing 25 pounds and I total lost 42 pounds and it just it was unbelievable. But I was still clear of Bam. I was like, I don't want to do the business. I don't like sales. I'm a mechanic because of my results. So I walk into TWA. People ask me, what are you doing? And so, Bam got me into search stuff and it's working and whatever. And they're like, give me a program. And I said, Pam, John at work wants a program. She said, you told me you were going to sell. I said, I did. Just give me the stupid product. And so I took the product in. He went to one for his wife. Next thing you know, they can program a day into TWA. And that's kind of how our business started. Because of that, I started, because I love people. I always tell people in those days, I hated sales, love people. I I just, like I said, so she finally got me to go to this training in Chicago, Illinois. I'm never going there, not wanting to go really. And walked out of that training that day wanting to quit my job and join. It's like, I don't know. I saw normal people there making above average income. I saw grandmas there making $5,000 a month. I saw, like I said, I saw vision. I was trying to do a mobile work business on the side when I was at TWA. So I had entrepreneur blood in me. I just didn't know how. And I had no mentors. I had no coaches. Dan Waldron, who lived in Dallas, Texas, the guy who was at the meeting, called me up to listen, I'll coach you, teach you, train you, teach you how to recruit, teach you how to build an organization. And I just like, I don't know, light bulb clicked for me. And I just like, I started doing that. I just started, understanding that I had to work on myself. Jim Rohn, which we were talking about before the call started here for the podcast, and he was a huge part of Herbalife at that time. And I started listening to him and these things, for things to get better, you got to get better. I started realizing that if I wanted like that life that I was looking for with me and Pam, that I had to change, that I had to get better. Now I was starting to get better with my health but I need to get better with my mindset because I didn't have the right mindset. I had a limited mindset. I was hanging around people at TWA who didn't have a mindset. They were there. They didn't like being there. They wanted to, you know what I mean? The old saying is half the people work, the other half would be laid off, and you don't want to be in either group. And that was the philosophy, and I just didn't like it. And so that's kind of where I got started. So then that journey, I tapped into the mentorship. I started tapping into leadership. Actually read 76 books on leadership that year because I knew I had to get better. I had to get better. I had to become the person to attract. So I just really engulfed in that journey of becoming that person that I could attract the people that I was looking to attract into my business. And of course, that's how I met you guys. And so it's like, of course, my sister started the business in Atlanta, Georgia.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's kind of how I got started, Wayne. So it's a long story there for an answer there, hopefully. So,
Well, but that's a great segue because your sister got in the business in Georgia. We're living in Pennsville, New Jersey. And May, why don't you pick up the story from there?
I think I answered a work from home ad in the paper because I think I came in 95-ish. So the internet was like a brand new thing.
yeah.
And I remember saying to Wayne, what do you think about this? Like, you think this is legit? And well, you can only just, what can you do? Just call the number, just find out. And of course, Roxanne's like, I'm going to send you a decision package. And next thing I know, I think it was Roxanne, Brad, and Dan are all sitting in my living room on my TV. Or it might have been Brad and Dan. I can't remember.
Yeah.
But,
Brad and Dan. So yeah, we were doing that.
Package. And that got me started. And I think things went pretty quick for me in Herbalife. And we talk about regrets a lot on this podcast and how failures are used to then also help with future successes. I remember one of the first books that I read was Failing Forward by John Maxwell.
Yes.
And I was so affected by that book because how many people in our sphere, they fail, they quit. Oh, that didn't work. Not going to work. Like that's what you hear in your ear all the time when you're trying a new business opportunity. And so that was a very influential book for me. And now I think even to this day, we refer to that book a lot. So, but how lucky was I to like get hooked in with Roxana Chavan and Brad Harris, right?
Yeah.
And I think that was a God thing, like just, being able to have that training available and also just somebody constantly mentoring me, challenging my mindset, encouraging me to grow, telling Wayne he better hurry up and catch up,
Yeah.
and it was just, those years in Herbalife were awesome. But anyway, talking about failures, I think for me, we had a couple of kids and I think what I should have done, Brad, is I should have scheduled a call with you and Roxanne and had the conversation about how can I be a mom 110%
Yep.
and also be an Herbalife? I was on the Get team at that time. Uh,
Yes.
how can I be a distributor 110% and do both? Because I really want to do both, but I was like an all or nothing kind of girl, like I either had to do this all or nothing, or I had to do that all or nothing. And I think for me, I kind of shut down a little bit because I felt like I was having pressure from some other people in my life that you really need to just be a mom. Right.
Right.
And I think in my looking back, that's one of my biggest regrets that I let that go.
Yes.
And it's hard to get back to that. You can never then step back and be like, hey, I'm back. And I think that was a regret because I took myself out of the rooms filled with people who wanted me to succeed.
Mhm. That's so
And
great.
I put myself kind of like, well, I then invested in trying to be the best wife and mom that I could be to help my husband succeed. And,
Mhm.
Herbalife played a huge part in Wayne's decision to go out on his own. I
Yep.
remember we were standing in my office one day and he goes, I'm going to do Herbalife. I'm going to quit my job. We're both going to do Herbalife. And I was like, you're scaring me a little, just a little. It's a little scary. And not that I didn't think it would work, but it was going to be a huge leap for us. And
Yeah.
and then he decided to go out on his own as a financial planner. But the concepts that, we had already learned in Herbalife helped us,
So
then make
good.
that leap. So,
Yeah, I think that, I mean, Brad, I had seen you at a couple of STSs, sales training seminars and that kind of stuff. And then we ended up in Kansas City. Um, and I've told this story 1,000 times since then that, my wife was in your downline. You had a responsibility to her to be leading well. You didn't owe me anything. In fact, I'm there as a young financial advisor trying to talk up how you can use life insurance as an investment. Something, by the way, I don't talk about today. And I'm hoping maybe one of these super successful Herbalife people want to become a client. And you spoke. You took a moment and spoke to me and just said, "Hey, Wayne, your wife can really go a long way with this." And but I'm challenging her to read 50 books a year. And here's something I want to challenge you with. You are familiar because of your faith in this concept of being unequally yoked. And I'm telling you, if your wife reads 50 books a year for the next 3 years, you're not going to be married to the same woman you're married to now.
Yeah.
So here's the book list of 50 books. I want you to keep up with her. I want to encourage you to read the same books, meet her in the pages of those books, meet her in the vocabulary, develop common vocabulary. So whether you're doing Herbalife or whether you're doing financial planning or whether you're doing landscaping or whether you're washing dishes, whatever you're doing, you want to be equally yoked with your wife. And that coming from you and coming from a guy who didn't owe me anything.
Mm.
It was such an act of generosity, such a authentic act of kindness, that I get choked up thinking about it today, um, because that set the world on fire for us. Because man, I both read those 50 books, and one of the first books was John Maxwell's Rules of Leadership, and I read The Law of the Cap, and I was dreaming, I was having this vision for a financial planning practice that catered to higher net worth clients, and I went to my boss and who was really had taught us to sell insurance, and he basically said, "That's not what we do here. Get out there and sell more insurance." And I came home that day and I told May, I said, I don't know what I'm going to be doing a year from now, but I won't be working for him because I just found John Maxwell's Law of the Cap in my life. That guy is the cap,
Yeah.
and I won't stay under that cap. And so it was less than a year later that we created what would eventually become Visionary Wealth Management. And I left that firm. But that happened because of your authentic generosity in a hotel room in Kansas City.
yeah.
Wow.
So
Wow. Never know. Never know who you're talking to, too. You never know. You never know who you're making a difference for when you're talking to them. You know what I
yeah,
mean? And I think it's always a lesson to me. I think Jerome said, the highest honor in life is to have your name in somebody else's testimony.
Hmm.
And he talked about it. And he used to always think that's the highest thing in life. It's like you're really looking for that. And that's when you're making a difference. That's residual impact. I
Yeah.
make residual income, but that's residual impact. And of course, that impact, Wayne, May, now look at all the people that you've impacted as it continues to pay forward.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I think a large reason that we started paying our kids to read books was because we were so influenced
Mm,
by books. And so we started paying them at a young age just to
Yeah.
read a book, whether it's
wow.
$1, $5, whatever. And it eventually became $300 per book.
Wow.
Yeah,
Yeah,
$300 a book. But
That's where it is today. But how many 20 to 22-year-old kids do you know that read 20 to 30 books a year?
absolutely.
yeah,
Right.
Absolutely. And the right books too, by the
Yeah.
way, Wayne.
Yep.
Some
right.
great
Yep.
books.
Well, they have to stick to the list. Yeah, we have
Yeah,
a list.
yeah. Oh, totally.
But the beauty is the list has gotten bigger because as they have become students of their own growth, they bring books to us. Hey, I'm reading this book. Does this make the list?
Mhm.
And then so it's created this compounding. So the list keeps getting bigger because it's not just May and I adding names. The kids are finding the names. The kids are finding the authors, and so the list just, I can't wait to see it 3 generations down the road. That list is going to be so long, people won't be able to listen to all the books in their whole life.
And I think
Mhm.
Simon Sinek was one of the ones that we added because Bryce
Yeah,
liked his books,
yeah.
That's
you know?
such good.
Um,
Oh, he's so good.
And in January, Brad, we were at a group of financial advisors, like 150 people in the room, and it's May, CJ, Bryce, and I front row center with Simon on stage doing.
Oh, wow.
Oh my gosh,
Wow. That's
like
awesome. Oh,
unbelievable.
that's so cool. Wow.
So cool
So
stuff.
cool.
So, Brad, I mean, we're talking 25, 28 years ago at this stage that we knew you. Like a lot's happened since then. So walk us through some of your growth journey. So walk us through some of
Okay.
the pivot moments, some of the authors, some of
Yeah.
the people who have spoken into your life and been pivotal in your growth.
Well, yeah, thank you. And so, yeah, it's, of course, that story, like I said, I started on my journey, started my journey of life, started my journey in personal development, started my journey of leadership. I figured out, of course, coming from Jocksville, everything rises and falls on leadership, right? Everything. And I really took that to heart. I actually got to be mentored by Jim Rohn. I actually was able to work personally with Jim Rohn
Hmm.
for about, really closely for, I don't know, 4 or 5 years. We, I'll never forget, Jim. And by the way, guys, if you hadn't look up Jim Rohn, if you don't know who we're talking about, it's
Yeah.
just, it's classic. He is classic. He comes from the basics. I think he's like almost like the basic founder of personal development. He's at the foundational of it. He came from Earl Schoaf,
Yeah.
who was, they were big in those days when personal development wasn't a big deal, and they really set that foundation of that. And I'll never forget. I never forget. One of my goals was to pick up, to have Jerome call me on my phone. And I remember he called, left a message on my phone. It was a message machine. That's where we had messaging machines. And he was coming to Kansas City, and he was going to be working with some of our team. And he said, "Hey, listen," he was giving me his flight, so I was going to pick him up at the airport. And so I never forget picking him up at the airport. So I never forget driving. And I'll never forget this thought came upon me. It's like, what do you talk to Jim Rohn about when you pick him up? You know what I mean? It tells him, pick him up, take him from that to a hotel. It's like, oh my gosh, what do you talk about? You know what I mean? Dan, which is a big mentor of mine, we talk Dallas Cowboys football, Chiefs football, this, but what do you talk to Jim about? And I'll never forget picking him up. And this was a pivotal moment in my life. I'll never forget picking him up. And Jim, and so he gets in the car, and, you guys know Jim, he's a small guy. And so he gets in the car and he has glasses, he has glasses like this. And so Jim gets in the car and I was like, "Hey, Jim, thanks for coming. I'm really excited." And so I'm thinking, and I go, "Jim, I go, I really think personal development is one of the best things that we do." And I'll never forget, he had his glasses on. He looks over at me with those glasses and he goes, "Brad, it's the only thing." And that hit me like a ton of bricks.
Yeah.
He said, "It's the only thing. It's the only thing that makes a difference." And it really hit me that everything is built off that. Without that development, I don't care whether it's personal planning, whether it's Herbalife, whether it's real estate, whatever you're doing.
Yeah.
It all started with that. And that hit me like a ton of bricks. Okay. So that's when I took it to another level. Okay. Another level. And so it's just really started in, like I said, engulfing not only, in reading books. And I always tell people there's a difference between reading and studying. And I started studying leadership, studying personal development. So many people are like, May, you were talking about, failing forward, that kind of book. It's like, study that book. Dennis Daldell, which is a huge mentor of mine in Herbalife, who's, he's done very, very well with Herbalife. He taught me, it's like, read a chapter, Brad, and then go do it. Read a chapter, go do it. Read a chapter, go teach it. Read a chapter. And so that's why I really got into like teaching it. It's like, you'll know what I'm reading because I'm going to be talking to you about it, teaching you about it. And it's reciprocal, Wayne and Mae. It's reciprocal because when you teach it, it comes back to you. Because if they start reading it, then they give you information. Then you have this reciprocal information, give and take, give and take, give and take, give and take.
Mhm.
And there's such much power in it. Now I know what I know, plus I know what Wayne knows.
Yeah.
Okay. So I know double. I always tell people it's like the greatest gift. So I started studying, I started teaching it. I started making it, like you said, I took notes on it. I had so many like notes and so many journals full of information. I'll highlight it, then I write it down in a journal, then I'll PowerPoint it out. I have 10,000 PowerPoints with all this training. Okay. All my best stuff that I got from the books. And I tell people, study it because I can tell people just read and they just read. And then, like you said, 50 books. I got my 50 books read, but
Yeah.
they didn't learn anything. They
Mhm.
didn't apply anything. They didn't share it with nobody. They didn't reciprocate it. So that was a huge thing for me in that very beginning. I started learning that and I started really applying that in Herbalife with this. And so as I started building teams, because I could train them about the products, that was easy. I could train them about the market plan, how to make money. I could train them how to do that. I could train them how to do all kinds of different things. But what I couldn't train them on is them.
Right.
Mhm.
Most people don't believe in themselves, Wayne. They don't believe in themselves. Okay. That's the number one thing. They just don't really believe in themselves. There's a self-doubt. And so to get the people to believe in themselves is the basis of building anything that you're going to build. That's the way a marriage is. By the way, children as they raise up, it's like as you build their self-esteem, who they are. And
Mhm.
so that was a big thing for me. So that's when I started, like I said, that was a pivotal point in my journey and it was early in my career in Herbalife. And then I was able to be around powerful people. Okay. I was able to be around people who, made millions in Herbalife and I was able to be around them and be influenced by them.
Mhm.
We say what you're the 5 people, the average of the income is average of the 5 people you're around.
Yeah.
Mhm.
What I really believe is you're the 5 people who influence.
Right.
And so it's like, who has influence over you? Of course, Wade, that was in the very beginning with you and May. It's like, I knew you had the biggest influence over me, more so than me. Okay. More so than Roxanne.
Mhm.
So I always try to find who has the most influence in that situation. So into them, because that's who's going to be spending more time with May than me. And that I knew would reciprocate. I still do that today. I want to meet the husband. I want to meet who is the biggest influence in their life. It could be their mom. It could be their dad. It could be their brother. Okay. Those are the ones, I don't care if they do Herbalife with me, but what are they going to be talking in their ear about?
Mhm.
And I knew that was the most important thing to do. And so that's personal development at its highest level. I think everything else in business is easy. I really do. I think business is just X's and O's.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I would
Maybe,
agree with that. And some of what you're saying, Brad, in terms of, it's not personal development isn't one of the things we do or the most important thing we do. It's the only thing we do because again, one of the Jim Rohn quotes we've said probably half dozen times on this podcast, success is something you attract by the person you become. And so when you become someone who can articulate a vision, who can articulate the dream, who can articulate the passion, communicate, and then influence others to join you in that passion, then the product becomes secondary.
Mm.
We can move any product across that the rails of that influence, but the influence is created by the person you've become. And it's your ability to have the vocabulary, to be able to cast the vision, to be able to call people forward to something that doesn't yet exist, that creates the influence and that enables you to move the product. And yeah, it matters. I mean, I have this conversation with financial advisors who are getting burned out, and you look at the average size of their clients, and their clients have got $50,000 to $150,000. I'm like, well, okay, if you add a zero to that, and had your average client be worth 500,000 to 1.5 million, you could work with a lot fewer people, but you got to change the room that you're in. You got to
Mm.
change your messaging, and if you're going to add another zero to that and have it be worth 5 million to 15 million, you're going to have to change your messaging again. Why? Because $5 to $15 million people aren't attracted to the same language that the 50 to 150,000 crowd is attracted to.
Oh,
You got
that's
to change.
good. I don't know
So,
if you guys have you read any Dan Sullivan books?
yeah,
Wayne,
sure. Yep.
I
Who,
have
Not
not.
How. Okay, 10, but he has a book 2x 10x. Okay,
Mhm.
2x 10x, and 2x is harder to do than 10x. It's easier
Yeah.
to 10x your business than the 2x, and because 2x means you do the same you're doing, you just do more of it. That's called
Yeah.
burnout.
Yeah. Yep.
So doing the same thing, just do more, or work instead of working 8 hours, work 12 hours.
Right.
Okay, so it's like instead of working 40 hours, work 60, and that's how people know how to double their business. That's called burnout. That's called I'm burnt out. He said nobody burns out. Now, if you 10x your business, what you're saying is for somebody to go from 150,000 to 1.5 million, they're going to have to 10x. In other words, they're going to have to come up with a 10x idea.
Yeah.
In other words, they're going to have to come up, they're going to reinvent themselves. They have to become better. So then that's what excites you in life. That's what gets you all juiced up, not doing the same thing over and over and over and over. And so I've always looked away, what's my 10x idea?
Yeah.
What is my 10x idea? And that idea that's what propels me. I'm 62 years old and doing Herbalife for 31 years. And right now in my business, I feel like I'm more excited than I've ever been. Okay. Because I got a 10x idea in my head. Okay. And that's because of personal development. That's because, as Dan Sullivan says, who, not how. Who are you hanging around? It's not how. It's not how you 10x your business.
Yeah.
It's who do you need to be around?
Yeah.
Who? And a who is a big thing. So I always tell people like, I don't know how I can get my business going. It's not how, it's who.
Yeah. Yeah.
You need 3 people that are powerful people around you and your business will fly.
Yeah.
Okay. So
One of the early books I read was Unleashing an Idea Virus by Seth Godin.
naming,
And
he's
and
mad.
then yeah, and in that book he talks about, in terms of the who, not how, it's who you find. Go find your heavy sneezers, because what you need is you need to find people who will share your message. You want to talk to the person who talks to everybody in their office every day. That's the person you want to pour into. That's the person you want to sell on your product. The how you get to that person is a question, but the who of that person is going to
Yes.
determine how far your business will go.
And that goes back to the personal development to track that who.
Yeah.
If you're going to track that who, you're going to have to become that who.
Right.
You're going to have to get better for him to even walk in the room with you, to even listen to you, to even have 5 minutes with him. And that's what people's like, they're living on the $150,000 person because that's who they are.
Mm-hmm.
They got to, like I said, so it's not how do I get to 1.5 million? It's how do I get my mindset there, my ideas, everything about me. That's how you go build.
Yeah.
You'll never, like I said, if we were talking on the call before, we're going to be living to 130 years old. So I got a lot of growing to do. So
We've got we have a financial advisor in our sphere, and I'm going to have him on this podcast one of these days. His name's Tim Sullivan. So not Dan Sullivan. It's
that,
Tim Sullivan.
there's all.
The day I met Tim, I was so impressed with who he is. I was so impressed with the way he presented himself, the way he carried himself. And then I learned a little bit about his business and found out that he was working with clients who were substantially smaller on average than the ones I was working with. And I was scratching my head. I was like, dude, this guy is somebody who should be pitching 8-figure clients on the regular. And I'm get to be a part of this community that he's a part of, and I've watched him grow. And just a few weeks ago, we saw his team did a little bit of celebration, and because they picked up a $12 million client, and
Wow.
a couple of other high 7-figure client relationships. And it's the coaching, it's and it's the confidence, right? It's the confidence to step in, to come up with that 10x idea, to be able to present and win that business at a higher level. So that's a guy who I'm watching in real time, like do the 10x move and become the 10x person. When like literally the day I met that guy, I was like, dude, this guy is amazing.
Yes.
He's a
Yes.
stud. He
Yes.
is absolute. But then he wasn't living into it. So now to watch him. So this is a little pitch for Tim, if you're listening to this. One of the folks that tried and needs to forward this to Tim to listen to. Tim, I'm asking you to be on the Envision More
So
podcast.
good.
So
Yeah.
And Wayne, one of the big things in that concept, right? To go from 2x to 10x. And I think Dan Sullivan talks about this. It takes courage. Courage is a big word for me right now. It's like I'm really studying that word, courage. Okay, so courage. So it takes courage. There's a lot of times I pitch in the business. It doesn't take brains, it takes guts. It's courage. Courage creates confidence, which gets you better. In other words, everything that happens that you're going to 10x, there's this courage moment. It's like asking a pretty girl out on a date. There's that courage moment where you just like, okay, I'm going for it. You ask, the courage breaks, and then confidence kicks in. So how you get confidence is going through courage. Most people they want a life that has no courage attached to it. They want it easy.
Yeah.
There's this courage moment in your life that you got to go, I got to go do this to become this. I got to break through that. If I break through that, on the other side of courage is confidence.
Yeah.
Now, once you get confidence, it becomes easier. So it's like, those who are listening, it's like, you're probably in a courage moment right now. When you walked in the door and said, May, I'm quitting my job and right? There was a courage moment, not a talent moment. That was a courage moment that you said, I'm tired of 2x. I'm going to break through this. I'm going to go for 10x. She's like, oh my goodness, she's scared because of courage. So that's where that moments are in people's lives. Some people go back to comfortable. We call it in our business, like you're going to get on the roller coaster and you take the chicken line. Okay. And so you missed all the action. You missed it all because you took the chicken line. Most people come to courage. They take the chicken line. They get on they go get on a little merry-go-round, and that's their life. And they wonder why. Okay. Their life is because, so I think everybody has pivotal moments in their life. That was 1993. I went to Chicago, Illinois. Pam got me to go there. There was a courage moment there. I'm going to quit my job. There was a courage moment. So there's been these courage moments in my life. Doing a podcast. I'm sure you guys doing this first podcast, you're probably scared to death doing this thing. Oh my gosh, I got a microphone. I got to do this. What are I going to do? I got to do this. And you're like, there's that courage that you bust through it. Then pretty soon the talent takes over. You get better. And then that's where confidence comes in.
Yeah.
That's such an important part.
Well, and there's a third C there, right? So it's the courage moment. You do the courageous thing and you don't die.
Yep.
Right. Because usually you're going to do the courageous thing and it's not going to kill you. I mean, there's a few stupid things that'll kill you, but so you do the courageous thing that breeds confidence.
Yes.
And then the confidence repeated leads to competence.
Yes.
Right. So and then the competence, now you've built a platform. Now you have to find the next moment of courage. Right. And what is that?
It's 10x. It
So,
is.
right.
And
And that's 10x, right?
That's the game of life right there. That's why people are bored. That's why people take Prozac. That's why people they become bored with their life.
Yeah.
Because they ditch the line They ditch the courage line and they walk away.
Mhm.
And so many people I've seen do it. And they go back to the old thing of life, which they hated, by the way, but it's comfortable. Okay. It's
You're
comfortable,
sweet.
but it's not comfortable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I have a question for you, Brad. So our kids, we've had them read all these books and they've gained all this head knowledge. And through their high school and college years, they found themselves to be lonely, right? Because they walk into a room and they're like, that's stinking thinking, and that is stinking thinking. And I know that if I surround myself with these people, pretty soon I'm going to be stinking thinking. So I was having a conversation with my daughter just last week. She's getting married in October. Her bridesmaids are pretty much all over the country because there's people that she, pretty much met in college. And so it gets kind of lonely here in New Jersey because everybody is long distance. But I tell her, I say, I think that just give it time. You're going to find the room of people that encourage you to be better and do better. And, but it can be very lonely. So, what do you say to people? They come into your business, they're doing all this leadership development, and then they're like, my family thinks I'm crazy. They're not inviting me over anymore. Um, what do you say to that?
Yeah. So it's like, first of all, when you make a decision in life, like they made a decision, okay, you made a decision that, that you're going to go on a different path of journey. So here's what I know about that journey. Okay. The, the extra mile road is less traveled, right? There's not many people on that road. So
Yeah.
there's actually loneliness attached. Now we got to look at the verbiage loneliness. What's that mean? So what I always do if I was talking to them, May, I've always learned, here's what I learned how to get people to really, because you're not getting to the root of what she's asking.
Right.
Okay. So get to the root of what she's asking. Here's what I'll do with people. So she'll say, it's really lonely. I'll just repeat it back to them in a question form. Lonely? Let her talk. Okay. Let her talk. Okay. Cause she's going to go, well, I'm not lonely. I just wish my friends would get better. You want your friends to get better? Well, I, I would love them to get better. And it's like, and I try to get them to be better, but they just don't want to. They don't want to. Okay. Well, it's just like, I guess I just need to find some new friends, don't I? Yeah, you're right. See, she has the answer inside of her, May.
Yeah.
She went on a path. Okay. She hides behind this word loneliness. I always tell people it's lonely at the bottom, just like it's lonely at the top. They're lonely in both places. Okay.
Mm.
I'd rather be lonely at the top than lonely at the bottom.
So
Okay.
true.
So it's like, let's be lonely at the top. Okay. So let's get to the top. We're going to create new friends. Right now, you're trying to hold on to that.
Mhm.
You're trying to hold on. You're trying to make them better. Okay. And so it's like, so really challenging her, because remember, every problem is their problem, right? In other words, it's a personal development issue. Always know that every single time, every single time, it's their issue. They only know the answer. So what I always do, it's like, I learned this from Chris Voss. Have you guys ever read the book, Never Split the Difference by Chris Voss? Greatest negotiation book in the world.
Yep.
Life is a negotiation. Okay.
Yep.
She's negotiating her life right now. She's negotiating her friend base. She's negotiating her peer base. Okay. So she's negotiating. Okay. She's moving on. The same thing I told Wayne. She's moving on. They're not. Now I can either go down to who they are. Okay.
Mhm.
Or I can go and start flying with eagles. And I know this, eagles don't flock. So I'm not going to go find a thing with 25 eagles flocking flying.
Mhm.
I'm going to have to fly like an eagle, go perch on a mountain where there's going to be another eagle perched there. Okay. And then I'm going to be able to talk with that eagle. I always know in my lifetime, there's only going to be 3 or 4 people in my life that's going to make the major difference in my life. And I think young people have to learn that.
Okay. I've told
They
her, I said,
can't.
you just 2 or 3 people. That's all you need.
It's all it's going
Yeah.
to be in her whole life.
Mhm.
Okay. Anybody who has 30 friends, they got problems,
Yeah.
big time problems, big time problems, because they're being pulled all over the place.
Mhm.
And I see people. So that's like you said, that's the greatest moment where her life, she hit a moment of courage.
Mhm.
She's hit a moment where I got to leave that group, but she's my bridesmaid. Yeah. But it's like, we're going to leave that moment.
Yeah.
Okay. And not only then can I find the others. Right now, she's trying, John Maxwell says, you hit the ball and drag Charlie, hit the ball and drag Charlie, hit the ball and drag Charlie. Well, get rid of Charlie. Just hit the ball and you can get to first base a lot faster. So it's like, quit hitting the ball and drag Charlie with you. And you're trying to hit the ball and drag Charlie, and you're trying to drag her across the finish line with you. And you're tired and you're this and you're lonely and you're all this kind of question. Okay. And so it's such a great moment in her life. And she's asking the right questions. Make her figure it out.
Yeah.
I always know everybody, I don't have her answer. She does. Keep asking her, keep repeating the last 3 words. Repeat it. I'll do it 20 times. Usually when they start crying is when I hit it. Get them to
Yep.
start crying. Pam would go, you made her cry. I know, I hit her core. I hit it. I got to where I wanted to be. Our ego is superficial. Our ego protects us.
Mhm.
It don't let you in there. So my
Mhm.
ego's kind of like, I'm good, I'm Brad, I'm this, I'm that. And oh, you're really good, Brad? Well, it's going okay. It's going okay. Well, there's some problems. There's problems. Yeah. And then boom, then I tell you the real deal.
Yeah.
Nobody tells you when you look at somebody, say, how you doing? They'll say, great. They'll say, okay. I'll say, okay. And then they start telling me the real answer. Jim Rohn says everything is 3 questions deep. Loneliness is not the question. That is
Right.
not, it's so far from the question. That is so far. She's not lonely. She's got you and Wayne. So,
Yeah,
I
that's
don't,
really good.
That's great.
Really cool.
Good stuff. Um, Brad, as things have emerged and evolved for you, I mean, you're still, I imagine, running a huge Herbalife organization that continues to grow, and we see pictures of you traveling all over the world and speaking to groups of people and pouring into people and that kind of thing. But I also noticed that your email address has a hash. It doesn't have an Herbalife hashtag. It has a Harris Marketing hashtag. So,
yes.
what's tell us about Harris Marketing and what's like, what is Brad Harris doing Herbalife and beyond these days?
Well, of course, you're in the investment world. And so you know this better than I probably should listen to you talk for 15, 20 minutes. And so before I talk, but it's like one of the things that I was taught in the very beginning is, is the first thing you invest in is yourself, of course. That's what we've been talking about. You invest majorly in yourself, books, seminars, everything you can be around podcasts. In this world today, it's podcast. It's everything that we can invest in ourselves. And then then the next thing you do, is you want to find a business to invest in, which is my Herbalife. And so then, and develop that. And so become that, okay, get that where it produces residual income, produces money whether you work or not. So that's what I did. Okay. So that was my first 2 stages in my Herbalife career. So I always tell people that's your first 2 stages. Okay. And the person you will become doing all that's going to be unbelievable. Okay. Now, once the business is spitting out money. Okay. Now you can go invest. And Mark Hughes was the owner of Herbalife, always taught me, he's like, get your money making money, Brad. Okay. That's when you make it, because money doesn't sleep. Money doesn't have a conscience. Money doesn't care. Okay.
Right.
That's what I always know about money. Money's a terrible employer. Okay. So it's like, so now you got to learn money. So then now I invest. Okay. Now I invest, and I invest everything from real estate to stocks to crypto. Okay. And I have a coach in every one of those. Okay. I have a coach in every one of those because I always knew I need a coach. And so if I'm going to get better, so now I'm able to be able to leverage myself more, even more. Okay. For that legacy mindset I talk about, because it's about the person I have to become to do that. So it's like another challenge for me. 90% of my time's in Herbalife, 10% of my time's probably over than that, 90% of my time. But because in my business, every person I invest in and get to the top, it's worth, millions of dollars to me. And so I always know the best thing, the best is in people. I think because it gives you that gratitude.
Mm-hmm.
There's no gratitude in money. Like I said, money never calls you up late at night and says, I want to just tell you a thank you and you're so awesome and I appreciate you. I never had money do that yet. Okay. And
Yep.
so, but I've had lots of people call me. Of course, you guys are the ones right here. This made me feel so good at the very beginning because I didn't know all that. Made me feel so good. That's because I invested in people. So I think the greatest thing you can invest in is people. And so, but money allows you to invest more in people. I
Mm-hmm.
always think money gives you choices. So now I invest. Now, like I said, I have coaches in that. Uh, you know, Mark Hughes always taught me in the very beginning, get the money deal out of the way. Okay. If you're working for money, bad deal. And that's where most people are working for money.
Mm-hmm.
Something I always see too, guys, most people are working to get out of debt. And that's even worse.
Yeah. Yep.
You talk to them, you're like, what do you want to do? What's your goal in life? And they'll say, well, I just want to be out of debt. And I go, that's a goal. That's a zero.
I want to die at zero, right? Yeah.
I want to be at zero. I want to be crisping my head above water and then boom. It's like, dang, zero. How about $500,000 in the bank, 2 million in the bank? How about that? Well, see, that's I don't believe in myself, Brad. I could never do that. See, that's where that belief comes in.
Yeah.
But I believe I can get to zero because society teaches you to get to zero. That's what they teach you.
Yeah.
They don't teach you what you're teaching, Wayne, and how to be financially secure and have money working for you.
Yeah. You mentioned something here and you mentioned the word legacy and impact. And I want to dive into that a little bit because like your podcast is called the Legacy Mindset Podcast. And again, I mean, I'll just every episode is just rich and thick and worth listening to and worth taking notes and journaling from. Um, but how are you thinking about legacy and impact today? Now, 62. Now, this may be a little premature because we said you're going to live till 123. So, you've got 60. You got 61 years left. So, but if fate and or disease or a truck interrupt that next 20-year journey, what do you want? What are you hoping for in terms of legacy and impact for the rest of your career and then when you're gone?
It's like I think like you said, and I really do believe, like you said, and I think we talked a little bit earlier, you can leave your kids a lot of money, and that's great. That's not my goal to leave my kids a lot of money. I want my kids to become the person to make a lot of money, and so I don't want to run that process or they're going through.
Yeah.
Not that, it could be great, but my legacy is a couple things. It's like for me, this is for me. Of course, my there is for them to get to heaven. That's a huge legacy for me. So, to be that person that lived a life that they saw, that I was a Christian man, that I was a person that they could follow. Okay. And I could still, like Mae was talking earlier, I think she was talking about could I be a mother and a business person? And you can. Okay. I love the adage, you can have your cake and eat it too. Okay. I don't go the other way. Everybody else goes, well, you can't have those. Yeah, you can. You can run a successful business and have a fantastic marriage. Okay. You can do lots of different things in life that people don't think you can. And I want to leave that legacy with them that they can run a business, honesty and integrity. They can do things the right way, and the right way does pay. Character does count. I want my legacy to be that I was a person who lived with character. Yeah, I made some money, did some great things, but I was a person who lived by honesty, integrity, with character. Okay. And many people, because of me, had character and all and honesty, integrity, and that's the legacy that I want to leave. Because I know the money will go away, the things will go away, the house will go away. I know all that. But, when we talk about Jim Rohn, we never talk about how much money he has. We never talk about all these wine things that he had, all the stuff that he had, right? That Jim Rohn had. I never talked about it. Okay. I remember his house. I can't remember anything. Okay. But here's what I can remember. For things to get better, I need to get better. Okay. I know I got to become the person to attract. I know all that. So that's that's the legacy that he leaves.
Yeah.
And I think, you talked about that first half of life, right? I don't know if you ever read the book Halftime by Bob Burke, which is a fantastic book.
Yeah.
Okay. But he talks about halftime. Now he talked about halftime being 40 years in your life, right?
Mhm.
You're going to live to be 80.
Yeah.
But he talks about everybody. That's where their survival success significance comes in. Most people are in survival mode, trying to get to zero. Okay. They think what they think success is getting to zero. They think success is get the house, get a couple cars, get the wife, get the 2 kids. Okay. They think that's success. When they get there, they figure out it's not.
Mhm.
Okay. They're not happy. Okay. Once they get there. So then the third part of their life is significant. And that's truly what we want in life, is to be significant. We want our name in somebody else's testimony.
Mhm.
Okay. We want to be significant. And that's what I want to be in my life. I want my legacy to live on, that I was significant, that I did make a difference in people's lives. Okay. Not so much with just money, but in their character, who they become, and who they continue to become, and that their legacy will live on.
Yeah. That's so good. And one of the things that May and I talk about with regard to like philanthropic giving is the idea that, 100 years from now, nobody knows our names. They just don't. We are long forgotten. Our names aren't on buildings. Maybe somebody picks up at the Goodwill, they pick up a copy of a book that we wrote or something like that. But boy, there is an opportunity in helping someone who we will never meet through an organization, a philanthropic organization. And so, the chance that the opportunity at immortality is really in helping someone that can't help us back. That it's
Yes.
not a quid pro quo. It's we're supporting a foster care organization, or we're supporting a school for at-risk girls in Kenya, or we're supporting a ministry in Uganda or Guatemala or Mexico, any of the other things that we're doing. We're never going to meet these people. And if we ever do perchance meet a couple of them, we will forget them and they will forget us.
Yes.
But it
Yes.
was, it's our philanthropic giving, our ability to give that will create an impact that person will. We have some friends that run a ministry in the Philippines. This year they graduated their 2 millionth student from a financial education curriculum that they've got like 25 years of track record of helping families that make an average of 50 cents a day grow to be worth thousands of dollars. And that kind of impact, I'm like, well, you don't, so 2 million people use your curriculum. That you didn't teach 2 million people, right?
Yeah. Wow.
You've
Yeah.
never met most of those people, but
No.
that ability for impact, and I think that's what I'm hearing from you is that, legacy that will echo through the generations is
Yes.
not that Brad Harris's name would be put up in lights, but that the being a man of integrity, of character, someone whose life was something to be emulated, someone who became someone to whom success was attracted, and then live that consistently throughout it. What he wasn't one thing at home and another thing at work. There was a consistency to how he lived and who he was. So
And so
that's
good. No, it's so good. And I think people, when they're in survival mode, can't see that way. They
yeah.
can't see it. They're so trying just to get their head above water. They're just trying. It's like they're almost like drowning other people around them. Okay. People trying to help them. I always tell people, it's like, if you're in a hole, quit digging and give me that stupid shovel. Okay. Take this rope. And I'm telling you, once you get out of that hole, it's beautiful up here.
Mhm.
I think one of the biggest things that we can cast, Wayne, is vision. I think without vision, the people perish. Vision is the biggest thing that you can do as a leader.
Yeah.
And I think that's a little bit of that legacy inside of that. People can see farther because of you.
Yeah. 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 I think one of the challenges I'm thinking about right now is that there's some places. So like on the financial side, there are entire financial entities and corporations and training programs that will take a position that says all debt is evil. All debt. You should never have any kind of debt. And yet virtually no successful business on the planet has emerged without taking on some kind of debt for a period of time. And, and that's how if you wait until you have the cash, right? I mean, and in some sense, I mean, you think about your earliest, $55 for a decision box or whatever for the products, and you go out and you sell the first one to pay for the one pay for your own. Because other than that, it was going to be, you're going to have to borrow $55 from somebody to pay for it. Right. And yet that would have been a great $55 investment in retrospect. But then, you're absolutely right. Most people are drowning in debt that's for the stuff, right? It's we're buying things we don't need to impress people that don't like us, to create the image of a life that doesn't actually exist.
And then they call you up, May, and they go, "I'm lonely," and they're not lonely. It's about 4 questions deep, May. And it's like, and it's so amazing, Wayne. It is. It's so amazing. And society teaches that too, by the way. Society teaches that. It's passed down generation to generation. Okay. And it's like, and this is why, like I said, when people like me and you guys, when we're out there talking, like you said, that's why people can't hear what we're saying. They can't understand that. And so like, we're like a breath of fresh air. That's why, like I said, we got to keep doing what we're doing. We got to keep doing that because we are making a difference. But I know it's the road less traveled. I do know that. Broad is the way to destruction, narrow the way to righteousness. So I know broad is the way. Okay, but I'm going to take the people who want to go with me. Okay, and I'm going to take those people with me. And those are the people that I need to hang around, to be around. And, that's just kind of like, and once people figure that out, you're not going to have a huge crowd around you. It's just not going to be.
Yeah.
Not if you take that path, not if you take that road. That's a road less traveled.
And I'll circle back to something I said early on today, which is that there's precious few rooms that are filled with people that want you to succeed.
Mm.
The network marketing industry probably has more of those rooms than average.
They really do. It is an industry that it is. Because, everybody can get to the top is the pitch, right?
Yeah.
It's an upside down pyramid. You know what I mean? It's like you start off, you can get to the top, and everybody has that chance. Whereas probably most businesses, you're never getting to the top. There's like,
and we're only now starting to scratch the surface with Simon Sinek and Gary Vaynerchuk and some other players out there talking about servant leadership today.
yes,
That we've lived in a hierarchical corporate structure where the higher you go, the more you're expected to tell everyone else what to do, and you're dictating to them. Versus our own experience with you in Herbalife is that we meet you and you're serving us. You have our best interest at heart.
Yeah.
You're trying to pour into us, trying to invest in us. You're not now. There's still the conversations like you said about there's still the two pickles conversations, right? Of this now, and there's still the tell, show, try, do. Right? I just talked to a guy about tell, show, try, do last week. A young leader that we're pouring into a little bit, and just walked him through that. But there's still those conversations about, here are the products, and here's how you pitch them, and here's how you sell them, and that's going to be different in every business and every industry. But so you still a process, but the ability to show up, the ability to speak life, the true authentic desire to breathe life into another, as opposed to dictate or demand, or from my position of leadership within an organization. And that's
it's the opportunity. I think the only opportunity when you're pitching an opportunity that can be an opportunity is where you can have exactly what I have. Okay. And most, you said, most businesses, most, structures, you can never have what I have.
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys have heard the story about the guy working in the plant. He's working in, it's really hot and sweaty, and he's putting screws in this thing, and he's just sweating. He's doing it all day long. And his boss comes and taps him on the shoulder and says, "Come here a second." So I wiped all the sweat off and took him outside, and he says, "See that big house on the hill there?" And he goes, "Yeah." He goes, "See that big white picket fence around it and the horses?" And he goes, "Yeah, I see it." He said, "You keep working hard in there and I'll own that one day."
Yeah.
Now that's most people's pitch.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's like, I got to be able to take that guy, he's sweating, and say, you keep working hard in there, buddy. You're going to own that one day.
Yeah.
Me and you are going to be neighbors. And it's like that is such a different presentation.
Yeah.
And that's what you have to be able to, and that's the only way you can be significant. If not, you're not going to be significant.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. We've had, one of the things we talk about is that we must never ask somebody who works for us or with us to do something that we're unwilling to do.
No.
And we've got a couple of stories we tell where, I had a renter who they had a pipe burst in the crawl space, and in the middle of winter, there's 6 inches of snow on the ground, and getting through the crawl space was like crawling through a womb. It was like 24 inches by 15 inches or something. And I'm a big guy, and I'm standing there with my maintenance guy, and there's 8 inches of freezing water in that basement, and the pipe needs to get turned off. And I looked at him and I said, go ask the renter to turn the shower on and get me a couple of towels, because by the time I get over there, I'm going to have hypothermia. But this time I'm doing this. Next time it's yours.
Yeah. So good.
Yeah. So,
That's leadership. That's leadership at the highest level.
now that guy's like, he's just really happy that we got rid of that house and that we've never had a pipe burst. Wayne ate that frog. I know the next frog's mine. I don't want that frog.
Yeah.
You've also been headfirst in some sewer ditch
Yep.
based on that concept.
Yeah, same concept. Yeah.
That's what it takes to get there. I'm
Yeah.
telling you.
That's right.
That's what it takes. I love it.
Brad, thank you so much for your time
Yeah.
today. We always ask this question. We've kind of talked about it a little bit already, but what does envisioning more mean to you at this stage of your life and career as you look forward?
Well, as I said earlier, vision, without it, you perish. I know without vision, without the people around me, without vision, I got to keep passing their vision. Especially in my business, I'm bringing new people in all the time. And I laid the promise on them. Okay. I laid the vision on them. So I got to continue to create that vision for them. So for me, it's like the vision is what propels me. It's what keeps me from being depressed, from being tired, from being burnout, is vision. Cast the next vision, whether you're 60 years old, 70 years old, 80 years old, whatever it is, you got to cast that vision. Okay. And then, because people buy into your vision, they don't really buy into you. They buy into your vision. So I want to be crystal clear in that vision. And I know people will buy into that, and I'll get people to buy into that. And so that's kind of my goal, is to keep that vision clear and crystal clear. And how many people can I take with me?
That's great.
Well,
And
then-
how can people find you today? The Legacy Mindset podcast is out there on the various platforms. Any other websites or links that you'd want to point people to?
No, you can follow me on Facebook. Brad Harris on Facebook. You can follow that on Instagram. And but yeah, Brad Harris Legacy Mindset Podcast. You can get those and all of that. That's probably the best way to find me.
Okay.
And leave me notes. Tell me if I'm making a difference. That's what I want to know, right?
That's great. May, final thoughts?
You have made a difference.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you,
Yes.
man. Thank you so much. And thank you guys for going out and making it happen and being that, and then passing it down to your children. And just thank you for that. And I know it's going to be continued to pass down.
Yeah. Thank you again, Brad. And for our listeners here at the Envizion More podcast, if you want to drop us a note of thanks for anything that you found really valuable here today. But Brad, thanks so much for sharing some time with us, and we'll look forward to maybe doing this again someday. But let's make sure it's not 25 years from now.
Thank you for listening to the Envizion More podcast with Wayne Wagner Jr. of Visionary Wealth Management. We hope you were encouraged and inspired by the conversation today. If you want to dig deeper into the show notes or Wayne's work at Visionary, you can find us at envisionmore.com. That's Envision with a Z. Advisory services are provided through Wealth Plan Investment Management. Wealth Plan Investment Management and Visionary Wealth Management are separate entities. The content is developed from sources believed to be providing accurate information. The information in this material is not intended as tax or legal advice. Please consult legal or tax professionals for specific information regarding your individual situation. The opinions and material provided are for general information and should not be considered a solicitation for the purchase or sale of any security. Thanks for listening.